New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Free my mind, open my heart with the whispers of truth. To live a conscious life, to live a conscious life on the growing edge. On the growing edge.
And now, here's Ali.
Hello and good morning and welcome to Growing Edge Live. I'm Ali Benjamin and it is my great joy to be here today. Every week we produce a show based on a beautiful person, someone in the world that is channeling their time, their talent, their energy, and their resources, their creativity, and their love into doing good works in the world. And so I'm so glad that you're here today, because this is the good news. We are sort of inundated these days. If you're online or watching the news or looking outside, you'll see there's a lot of turmoil, there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of not so good news. And so I love the fact that I get to have conversations with these amazing people that are doing such good stuff in the world. If you haven't been here before, if today is your first time, then I encourage you to go back through our archives. You can find them on YouTube. You can find them on the podcast platforms, and you can look back and see the amazing people. And we have conversations. We dive into their lives. We find out about why they do the things they do, why they were inspired to use their life, their resources, their consciousness to create a positive impact in the world. And today my guest is back for the second time. She's a good friend of mine. She lives close by. We both live here at the top of Utah. And Renae Southworth is someone I met several years ago. There she is.
Hi.
For those of you that are joining us on video, you'll be able to see her. And for those of you that are watching or listening, I should say, to the podcast, you can't see her, but she's looking absolutely beautiful. Welcome to the show, Renae.
Thanks, Ali. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, so let me say a little bit about my friend Renae. She's a student and a seeker. That's how we met. We met in a spiritual group, a class, and we went pretty deep. And our friendship went on after that class ended. Renae is an entrepreneur here in Utah, in Ogden. She and her husband, Connor, they are the founders of Chroma Herbal Products. She is the owner, as I've mentioned, and a herbal medicine educator. You can find out a lot more about this. I also know her as a philanthropist. Let me see, I've been searching online for things about you. You don't write much about yourself, do you, Renae?
No.
But it said online, I found something, that you are a herbalist, business owner, and advocate for ethical and sustainable plant-based living. And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to dive deeply into that. And also I mentioned Renae's back for a second time. So during our first conversation, we went pretty deep into her origin story, her spirituality, and how she ended up starting this business. We'll touch a little bit on that. But if you want to know more about Renae, go back and look at one of our previous episodes. So, how are you today, Renae?
I'm doing well. Yeah. I'm just It's a nice Monday morning. Excited to be here.
Yeah, and I know that you had a few technical issues, and we have you on your phone this morning because your internet was playing up, and so hopefully we can get a clear recording here with what we're hearing. I'm going to ask my producer Michael to give me the thumbs up. How's the sound, Michael? Not so good. Okay. Well, we will move through anyway. So anyway, let's hear about you and what's going on in your business at the moment, because I know based on our conversations and seeing you online, I see you on Instagram. Let us know what's going on with your company there in Ogden, and yeah, we'll start there.
Okay. Yeah. So, okay. So a lot has been going on. We've kind of been changing a little bit around, like you said, there's not a lot. I don't put a lot of stuff about me online, but I am really trying to work on getting out there more and helping people build community and connection and find friends that love plants. And we've been really doing a lot in our, so we have a little storefront, and I have throughout this past year, I've been working on turning it into a co-op. And so I work with a bunch of different artists. And so they are almost all local to Ogden or nearby. And everybody has kind of plant-based art or body care or candles or things. And so, but we're trying to do something different, like rather than just be a store, but we're trying to create a place for education, a place for community. A lot of the people that come to our classes, some of them say, like, I'm just coming here to make friends because this is a great social place. So, and I love that because I think that's so important right now, just really, really helping people have connection and find like-minded friends and people who just want to do good in the world. And it just so happens most of the people love gardening and plants and herbal medicine. And so it's been a really fun thing. That's kind of been my big focus, especially the last few months. We've just been putting a lot of energy into events and just creating a space where people feel welcome and they can connect.
Beautiful. So that's what you're doing now. I'd love to go back a little bit and find out what first inspired you to dive into herbal medicine and herbal remedies. What was it that first started that idea or that passion for you?
That it really came out of a need for needing to be healthy, needing to be, I just really didn't have the luxury of going to the doctor. And so I just started learning it for my own family. And then, so that was about, when I really started was around 18 years ago. And then I just was doing it for my family, and it turned into, everybody around me was asking for help with it. And I just kind of felt like, I don't know. I'm just learning for myself. But I saw there was a huge need and people wanted this. And it's funny because my business this year will be 10 years old. And it took me maybe 5 years into that to really feel like I was an herbalist, because I felt a lot of, imposter syndrome. And I just thought, oh, I can't speak for these plants. But the more that I've worked with them, I just see we need so many more people who are willing to kind of claim to be an herbalist or claim, to take on those roles and to help people learn about these herbs and about the plants. And so it's just been fun because really I wasn't trying to create a business. I wasn't trying to, really, I had no idea. If you asked me 20 years ago, I mean, I would never think I'd be on this path, but it just kind of happened. And I can see the more people need it and want it, the more, I'm trying to help to educate people and to help empower them, because a lot of people are really, really intimidated by it. So, just helping people feel comfortable with it has become a passion, and it's just really fun, a fun way to help people.
Yeah, I love that you share that it can be difficult when you find something you're passionate about, and obviously, like you said, you use it within your own life, within your own family, herbs and remedies and whatnot, and then building up that base of knowledge and attracting people because they see obviously something's working for you, and they want to, you know, they want to learn about it too. But gaining that confidence and that trust in ourselves to know that we do have the intelligence or the wisdom or the authority to stand up and claim, I'm a teacher or I'm a fill in the blank. And so I love to hear that. And I would imagine others will find their own confidence in listening to you, that it takes some time, for some of us to really establish that, I am this, I have a wealth of knowledge here, I have something of great value, and then take that bold step to claim it and put yourself out there. And I've seen that. I've been, witnessing from the sidelines your evolutionary journey, and it's a beautiful one. And you've got such an amazing energy, and you are such a kind and loving and compassionate person that I can see why you have such a, I mean, use this term loosely, following, not necessarily following on social media per se, but a true group of people that look to you as a person of that can show them a new way. And it's because of your passion that you've been, risen to this space of being an educator and a leader, not only here in Utah, but all around the place. And so when you first tried out herbs on your family and on yourself, was there some herb or some blend or something that you found you used and it actually had such a difference, that there must have been that one thing that really did it for you and committed you to go even deeper?
Yes, I had so I was pregnant with my second baby, and I was using a midwife. So it's really funny because I mean the world has really changed a lot since then, but at the time, I mean, I didn't have health insurance. So, and I didn't qualify for help like with from the government. So I was kind of in this weird in between place. So it was interesting because I had to just really be creative because I actually couldn't afford to go to the doctor. So I did, I was having a home birth, and partly because I could just pay for that. I could pay my midwife for that. And I had really low iron. So, even if you do home births, you're still, tested and checked and, everything to make sure that you're healthy. So my iron levels were really, really low. And my midwife had said to me, if you don't raise your iron levels, you're going to have to go to the hospital. And I'm like, yeah, that's going to be like thousands and thousands of dollars that I don't have. So I was really motivated, and she was an herbalist as well. So she told me about this plant called yellow dock, and I'd never heard of it. I was like, what are you talking about? And not a lot of herbs are safe during pregnancy, but this is one that is. And so immediately, I mean, I went and got like the cheapest thing at the health food store, and I started taking this, and then in 2 weeks, she tested me again, or I had my blood tested, and I had healthy iron levels. And what's funny is ever since then, I've never had negative health, iron levels. Um, so this was a huge wake up call, and to see it tested that way, and to see like it really helped me in so many ways to be able to be healthy, but also it made me avoid going to the hospital. And so I ended up, so that was kind of my awakening, where I was like, wow, this is so powerful. This can really help you. I'd never been introduced to this. I was not raised in a family, you know, that really the only reason I went kind of a natural path was actually out of necessity because I couldn't afford anything else. So I didn't come from that background or anything. So this was really, really enlightening to me. And that's when I really started diving deep into it. And I realized, oh, this can help my family, this can help my kids. And if we don't have to go to the doctor, then this is a great way, to feel empowered. So it was really, really an empowering experience. But that was, I always am thankful to Yellow Dock, because I feel like it was my plant that introduced me into this world. And a lot of people who start working with herbs and herbal medicine, they might have a similar story where there's one plant that kind of showed them the magic of it and helped them on their journey. So mine was yellow dock, and now I work with so many other plants, but I still keep that one because that's a special one.
So what are the products that you find people are most interested in these days? Why are they coming to herbs? And what are they finding most useful these days? Are you seeing kind of a current day concern for people, and
Yeah.
what's helping?
Well, I see something that I see a lot is that people are really feeling, they really want to be empowered. And there's actually a lot of people, sometimes I feel like I should create like a support group for people who've gone through like medical traumas. But the thing is that I haven't myself, partly because I had to avoid that, and so but a lot of people have, had negative experiences with medication, or they felt like they got hurt, or um their health got damaged, and so they want to. So many people are saying, I want to learn myself, I want to be empowered, so I mean, I see people on the scale of every kind of health problem. I mean, I don't work with them. I'm not a clinical herbalist, so I'm more of a community herbalist, so I just support them, and I kind of lead them to herbs, whether it's ones that I sell or don't sell. But I'm more of an educator, so I don't do any kind of one-on-one diagnosis or anything like that. But people do tell me a lot of their problems, and really it's a range. I mean, diabetes is a really big thing in trying to regulate blood sugar levels, and a lot of herbs help with that. A big one in my shop is menopause issues and perimenopause. So there's herbs that help with that. Hormonal issues, everything, circulation. But really the main theme is that people are saying, I want to have responsibility for my body. I want to feel empowered. I want to know ways. Also, a big thing I'm seeing is people want to feel connected to nature, to other people who are also interested in this. So you see a lot of connection and empowerment, I think, is what people are seeking for. And it's really, really, really growing. And I get all kinds of people. It doesn't matter what background, what political party, what religion, every kind of person, I really see on this scale, and they're just wanting this. They're wanting connection back to their body and back to nature, but also empowerment, and feeling like they're understanding that there's not just a pill you can take to fix all of your problems. So it's been really fun to see the shift, and to see, I think 20 years ago, around the time when I started learning about this, it was interesting because you're kind of looked at like, oh, you have to be a hippie, or you have to be you have to live out in the forest, or you have to look a certain way, or you're weird if you do this. And now it doesn't matter. I see every kind of person and they're being open to this. And it's been a really, really cool journey to watch the evolution of, society, and just seeing the changes.
Yeah, as you're saying that, I'm remembering back to my first exploration into herbs and supplements, and it was definitely for me sort of combined with my own spiritual journey. I didn't consider myself a hippie or anything like that, even though I started on the path of using herbs, mostly for, as you were saying, for female, for menstrual issues and, mood swings and things like that. I also felt like there was a spiritual component to it, being connected to the plants. Growing up in the countryside, that was a big part of my early years. So you looking at the little jars and bottles that had, pictures of plants was comforting to me, and also, like you said, empowering. Like I can actually better my health, better my connection with the planet, with the earth, honor the earth. And it's also a lifestyle. I found that the people that congregate at a health food store or a herbal shop like yours, or there is a sense of, I see you, we're part of a particular tribe, and it's not to do with age or political, preferences or religious preferences. It's more of there's something deeper there. It's more primal. And I love, you're obviously decades younger than me. I love that your generation, and I'm assuming younger generations, are being more, are leaning more into the natural path and using supplements. And it also speaks of more of a sacred sort of connection to yourself and to the planet, as we, partake in Mother Nature's bounty.
Mm-hmm.
So what are the formulas or herbs or products that you offer at your store, and why are you different, if you are different than let's say when we go to a pharmacy or a health food store and we see supplements on the shelf? How's your particular Chroma brand different than what we might see in everyday, consumer shopping?
Yeah. Yes, ours is very different, because, well, partly, so every single thing that we work with is organic, USDA certified organic, plus also vegan. So I trying to make it so no one is hurt in the process of buying our products. And we try to buy from farms that we know and that we can support, and who are practicing ethical practices. So, but one of the biggest differences, so we make these like tinctures, which is, I kind of explain it to people like a tincture is almost like tea on steroids. It's just a more potent and preserved form of tea, but it sits longer and it has time to extract the medicine for longer. And then you can keep it with you in times of, you can carry it in your purse or keep it with you in winter when you don't have access to fresh herbs. But we use a base. So traditionally, the base has been alcohol that you steep the herbs in, and you use that as a preservative. But we don't use any alcohol in our products. We use vegetable glycerin from flax. So the vegetable glycerin, it doesn't have as long of shelf life as alcohol, but it's a lot better for your health. And it also is, it tastes a lot better with the herbs because it has a natural sweetness to it. And a lot of herbs are very, very bitter. So like I said, I was making these for my kids, and I would go to the store and I'd buy these products that had the alcohol with the herbs. And they just thought I was punishing them if I gave them that. And so when I started learning and working with vegetable glycerin, it was so nice because they love taking that. It tastes so much better. And so I found it's really cool because people who are really sensitive to tastes, or actually a lot of like recovering alcoholics, they talk about not being able to use a lot of herbal supplements because they all have alcohol in them. And so it's really cool because we kind of offer this niche thing that most companies don't do, and partly because the shelf life isn't as long and the vegetable glycerin is a lot more expensive than the alcohol is. So but we just really, when I started creating this, it really was for my family, and it was because I couldn't find the best. So I felt like, okay, I'm going to create the very best. And that's only what I give now, is the very, very best. And it's really cool because I have customers that bought from me when I was making it in my kitchen, and now 10 years later, they're still buying it because they trust me and our company, and they trust that, yeah, we're only making stuff that we want to take. So we're not going to give that. We're not going to give junk to other people. So, so yeah, it's really, really unique. We actually have our manufacturing facility in Ogden, and most companies, a lot of people don't realize with supplement companies, most of the companies don't manufacture the products themselves because that's almost like a separate business. It's very it's a lot of overhead. It's a lot of work to have a manufacturing facility. So, but we did that because we didn't want to put the making of our products into other people's hands. So we made sure, I mean, it's a lot more work this way, but we make sure that we know exactly what's going into it and nothing is going to be diluted. An interesting thing that a lot of people don't know. So with supplements in the US, there's actually laws that if you put under a certain amount of like a filler or a preservative, you actually don't have to put that on the label as long as it's under a certain amount. So there could be things added into supplements that you wouldn't know. It wouldn't say that on the label. So this is something, I always like to tell people about. If you have a company that you really, really love and trust, ask them where their manufacturing is being done and if they know, and if they're protecting how it's being made, and if they really, really trust their manufacturer. Because the fillers, like sawdust is a common filler,
Oh my
and
gosh.
yeah, and
Terrible.
rice flour. And the reason why is because it's actually easier to run it through machines if you have it. So it makes it faster and more convenient for the people making it. So yeah, a lot of people don't realize, so the manufacturer doesn't even have to tell the company who is putting this out there and buying it from them, as long
Wow,
as it's under a certain amount. So
that's really interesting. We're going to jump off for a minute and take a short break, and we're going to come back and talk to Renae more about her creative process and maybe some more of these secret things that she's revealing to us about this industry that maybe we didn't know. We'll see you in just a second.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Free my mind, open my heart with the whispers of truth. To live a conscious life, to live a conscious life on the growing edge. On the growing edge.
And Here's Ali.
We're back, and I do apologize for the echo that when I speak. I'll try not to speak so much. So I'm going to ask you a question. Well, I have a lot of questions for you, and the more you talk, the more questions come up for me. So what do you see as the main impact that chroma has had in the Ogden area, and just in general, what do you see, having been in this industry now for 20 years? So what would you say is the biggest impact?
I mean, I guess that's hard. It's hard to know. A lot of our sales, actually with our company, we sell a lot more outside of Utah than we do inside of Utah. So it's just been really neat though over the years to see people get the messages from people saying, oh, my child would get sick so much and they had such a hard time living a regular life, and now they never get sick anymore, and because of using these herbs it's helped them so much. And seeing messages like that where people I mean, I get so many messages from all the different platforms, but even locally, seeing people come in and say, wow, I tried this and it helped me so much. So it's really, really beautiful to see, because, I've been thinking a lot about this. It's like, when you have a healthy body, you have 1,000 problems, but when you have a sick body, you have one problem. And, I've thought about this so much because I used to think I didn't see a lot. I didn't understand the value that I really was offering this way. And I really have come to see, people can't do their missions in life. They can't have the quality of life if they don't have health. And part of having health, it also takes, education, and it takes understanding. And so it's been really fun to feel like, oh, I could help, these few little people, have a healthier life and feel empowered and inspired to learn more. So that is, it's such an awesome thing.
Yeah, so I imagine getting that feedback really helps you in not only feel good about what you're offering, but also in your creative process. Can you share a little bit more about your creative process, how being with people and hearing their feedback then impacts you in trying new formulas?
Hmm. Yeah, it's very, very inspiring to me, getting that feedback. Um, a huge thing that I've really seen over the years is that you have to, people need to feel inspired to try this out or to go this direction. And you really have to show people the beauty of it, not just, it's not just about health, or the way it's presented can really turn people off or turn people on. And I've really seen, it's really important to show people the beauty of the plant. So that that's really fun for me. So I love, in my classes, I love to tell the stories. There's a lot of like folklore and history behind each of these herbs. And also when you look at the cultural uses, and um, you learn so much about it. But also it's been fun to help people, because I always tell people in my classes, if you ever travel to a different land than your own, even on your own land, you should do this, but you look at the plants and you look at the way that people use the plants and you listen to the stories that they tell. And you will learn so much about the culture, but you also learn about the land. And it can be so beautiful, and it actually can bring us back to our ancestors and to understand certain things about them and why they did what they did. And really learning the stories of the plants tells us the stories of the people, and vice versa, because it's actually only modern times that people are a lot more disconnected from the land and from the plants. And so we don't use them the way our ancestors did. But we think of even our grandmothers and great grandmothers, they understood a lot more about the land that they lived on. And that was a bigger part of even the food that they cooked. And they had a much deeper connection. So I really, really love creating ways to, inspire people, but also to tell these stories of the plants.
Yeah, that's beautiful. The thought of understanding where you live and the plants that people throughout the generations, throughout history, how they've used those plants in their own lives, how that would give you a greater understanding. Now, you went to Greece recently, a year or so ago, and you worked with a herbalist, a woman. Can you share a little bit about what you learned from this teacher?
Ali, okay, I think I'm having a little bit of internet issues, so I missed the first part of your question.
Yeah, I'm asking you about your trip to Greece
Okay.
and your teacher. Tell me a little bit about this woman, who she was, who she is, and what you learned.
Yes. Okay. So people who are familiar with herbalism will probably recognize the name Rosemary Gladstar. She is her nickname is kind of the fairy godmother of herbalism. She's done a lot for helping to educate and teach people about herbs. She's done it for decades. I have read her books and studied her and followed her for years. And so this opportunity came up to go to this island in Greece, Kythera, and we were able to study with a Greek herbalist there. And then Rosemary Gladstar was a guest, and she was able to teach. And it was really, really cool because herbalists came from all over. There were people from throughout Europe, from the US, from Greece, I think there were some from Canada. It was just a really cool mix of people. And yeah, we were able to, connect and to study and just be together on this beautiful island where there's so many stories about the herbs and, the mythology, the Greek mythology. Herbalism is such a big part of that. And even still today in Greece, because of that mythology, it's cool that the stories of the herbs are still very, very relevant to the people.
Was there a big difference between the plant life on the islands you were at compared to what you're used to in northern Utah?
Yes. This little island, a lot of people have never heard of it, and it has like a very small airport. So you have to fly to Athens and then get a small plane to this little island. So the population was, I don't even know what it was, but it was small. There weren't a lot of people. There weren't a lot of tourists, which was different because I spent a few nights in Athens and it was just packed with tourists. But out on this little island, we were the only, non-locals there. So yes, it was very different. The honey from that island is really, really famous because of the herbs that are on that island. Thyme and oregano were really popular, or they just grow everywhere. And so the honey has this really kind of like spicy flavor. And yeah, it's just a very different way of living that is a huge part of their life. So yeah, it was really neat to learn from those people and to learn from all these other herbalists from all over.
So was this a group of herbalists like you, or was this more of an experiential retreat for people?
It was a mix. So yeah, everyone that went was in some way interested in herbalism, but there were, people who are authors and who run herbal conferences. But then there were people who were just like curious about herbalism and just beginning. So it was kind of every person on the scale, on as long as they were interested in herbalism. And because we did a lot of workshops, we did herb walks, we went and visited a beekeeper. We, it was very, very centered around that. But so everyone had an interest in herbs.
Cool. Now, in your personal life, do you see a connection between herbal healing and spirituality or emotional well-being?
Yes, I very, very much do. And this has been something, like I said, when I first started, it was very much out of practicality. It was, I kind of came at it with like an allopathic view. And it was kind of like, oh, I have this problem. Here's how you fix it, almost like a Band-Aid. But after working with herbs for so long, it has become much more spiritual. I have seen, I notice this with a lot of people. They might come in because they're looking for something to lower their blood pressure and to focus on heart health. And it's funny because they'll start using these herbs and they start having dreams, and maybe things from their childhood, things are coming up. And it's and I've had to tell people healing is very different than, what we've kind of thought. Oh, you have a headache, you go take this pill, now the headache's gone. But when you're working with herbal medicine, it's like, well, if you're having those headaches because of trauma from your childhood, you might start having dreams about things that you need to present and things that you need to focus on and heal. So it's really, really cool. And I always tell people too, when they just begin with using medicine, it's like, okay, the herbal medicine, if you're taking it for, to lower your blood pressure, but I tell them, start looking at other things as well, because you're going to notice you might feel happier, you might feel different, you might get new ideas. And so it's been interesting because it is very, very, very spiritual, because that's part of who we are. We are spiritual beings and we're having this earthly experience, but you can't have one without the other. So it's really cool to see how the medicine helps on so many scales.
Yeah, I could see that really being a tool, or not a tool, that doesn't sound like the right word, but a support to spiritual practice, to meditation, once you've researched a little bit and understand the basic qualities or benefits of a particular supplement. Now, your supplements are different than what we're accustomed to seeing. That you don't do pills, you do tinctures, correct? And so, can you explain the difference between taking like a pill form, dry powdered form of herb with the essence or the tincture?
Yes. So I do have a few products that are in capsule form, but most of our products are actually in liquid form. So um, it's easier for your body to digest it that way in that liquid tincture form. But a lot of people just prefer taking a capsule to a liquid, and some of the some of the ones that we have in capsules, it's partly because they taste so bad in a liquid, so it's easier in a capsule form. um or one is really really spicy, so it's easier for people to take in a capsule form. So it really comes down to preference, but there are benefits. I've seen the capsules sell really well because a lot of people, it's partly just easier for people on a convenience level. But in my opinion, liquid supplements are superior in the sense of your body can digest it easier, and um, you just kind of get a different experience that way.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. So, how can people get in touch with you and work with you? If do you work with people individually, or is it more in a workshop or a classroom setting?
Yeah, I do really like the group settings just because I I can help people one on one, but I prefer educating people so that they can then have the tools to find the answers on their own, rather than me saying you need this herb specifically. But um Instagram is kind of my biggest way. I get a lot of messages through there. And if for local people in our shop, we have a different Instagram page that has all of the events for the local events. I'm getting a lot of requests for online classes or courses, and I'm just gonna have to do it because people everywhere are really needing this information. So I don't have that at the moment, but I'm going to be working on that. But locally, we have a lot of classes and events, but anybody can message me and I can, at least give suggestions of a lot of lists in their own community to work with and classes they can attend locally where they are.
Mm. And how do you envision the future of herbal medicine in our modern time with everything that you're seeing?
Yeah, I'm seeing that, it used to, like I said, it used to just kind of be this certain population of people, but I'm really seeing that it's becoming a lot more mainstream, a lot more accepted, a lot. And really, this is not in any way to replace other medicines. It's kind of like, if you can use this first and prevent medical emergencies, then that's amazing. And luckily we have hospitals and doctors and other medicines to help when needed. But hopefully, if you can do all you can to prevent getting there, then that's great, you know. And so I'm really hoping to help people be on that path and to feel empowered, to not feel intimidated, because it isn't as simple as just having, you know, a medication that you take, that everybody takes the exact same. It's very different, and different herbs work for different people, and some people need different doses, and it's not a standardized thing. So people do have to take the time to listen to their bodies, to understand themselves, to work with, try different things. But it is a lot about taking, you know, more responsibility for our health. But my goal is to help people not feel intimidated by that, and to learn how to get started with that and what path to follow, and to find resources that can help you along the way. So that's kind of where I'm seeing it going.
Beautiful. Well, we're right at the end of our hour, and I always end with the question, you know, the song, What World Needs Now is Love, Sweet Love. Besides for love, what else does the world need now, Renae?
I think right now we need unity and we need connection. And I feel really strongly that, and community, just getting out, rather than looking at our differences, look at what we have in common, how we can connect, making those friendships. I feel like that is so needed right now. And I really hope people can, you know, reach out to their neighbors and just make more friends, make more community.
Sounds a beautiful world. All right, everyone. Well, you heard it here. Thank you, Renae, so much for this beautiful conversation. Again, sorry for all the echo to the guests here. And I'm looking forward to coming up to Chroma and checking out some of your products.
Awesome.
All
Thanks,
right.
Ashley.
You're welcome. And thank you, everyone, for being here today. It's been another wonderful deep dive into a life of someone that's doing great things in the world. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Free my mind, open my heart with the whispers of truth. To live a conscious life, to live a conscious life on the growing edge.